Happy Easter. I know what you're thinking, Mr. Rees, you should probably spend the long weekend not making videos, and I agree with you. Also, you should probably be working on that psychology assignment, and I agree with you there as well. However, I'm marking assignments for a Year 11 Mathematics Advanced class, and students have been asked to create some problems around algebra and fractions and functions. And one student has come up with this expression: f of x is equal to the square root of 2x over x squared minus 4, and they've said, what is the domain and range of this function? And then they've interrogated the answer. And I thought it would be a very interesting conversation to have a little bit more work around it. So we can imagine that this whole scenario here can't be less than 0, because then we have an unreal number and we haven't got to that mathematics yet. So it's allowed to be equal to 0, and of course everything underneath the square root can also be greater than 0. So we've got this restriction first of all, which means x can be 0. X can be 0. Here's the top term here. Okay, can be 0. There's no reason why x can't be 0. So x equals 0 is permissible. However, if we have a closer look at the expression on the bottom, we see that this is the difference of two squares. So if I rewrite this expression, I've got 2x over x minus 2, x plus 2. So what I cannot have, I absolutely clearly cannot have that. Can't have that. And I also, whoops, close brackets. And I can't have that. Not allowed to have that. So x is not allowed to be equal to 2, and x cannot be equal to negative 2. So let's consider what our regions might be. Let's consider the idea of x is less than negative 2, right? Consider x maybe, let's say, negative 3. We'll just try it on and see what happens. So we've got on the top, we've got 2 into negative 3. Well, that's going to be, let's see, negative 3 minus going to be negative 5. That's going to be negative 1. Square root of all that. It's going to be negative 6 over positive 6, yeah, which is the square root of negative 1, and that's not permissible, right? So we can't have the area to the left of x equals negative 2. So it looks like we can have to the right of negative 2, but we'll just check. Let's consider x as negative 1. Consider the case x equals negative 1. Well, that's going to give us the square root of 2 into negative 1 over negative 1 minus negative 2 is going to be negative 3. Negative 1 is going to be 1. Okay, it's going to be negative 2 over negative 3. So square root of 2 over 3, and that's permissible. Okay, so to the left of negative 2, not so good. To the right of negative 2 looks okay. X equals 0 is permissible. Let's consider, now we'll get between 0 and 2, consider x equals 1. I'm going to change colours here. And the fact that I've gone to red might give you a little bit of a clue about how I'm feeling. 2 into 1 over x minus 2 is going to be negative 1. And it's going to be 3. And we want the square root of all that. It's going to be 2 over negative, oh my days, negative 3. Okay, that's not permissible because we've got the square root of a negative number. Let's consider to the right of 2, positive 2, and I'm going to change to green, a big clue there. Consider, I'm doing this very roughly, of course, because I want my long weekend back. Consider x is, say, 3. Okay, so we've got the square root, I'll put that on in a minute. 2 lots of 3, it's 2x over x. What do we have? X minus 2x plus 2. X minus 2 is going to be 1. It's going to be 5. It's the square root of 6 on 5. And that's okay. So a rough as guts map. Rough as guts. X, Y. Let's give some regions in here. So we've got, there's 0, obviously. Negative 2. Put a line in here, and I'm just going to style it up so we know what we're looking at. Positive 2. So what we have is that this area to the right is acceptable. That's okay. What else do we have? X is -3 is absolutely not okay. Let's mark this as +2. That's 0, -2. X is -1 is acceptable. So it looks like there are acceptable regions. And of course, if we pop across to Desmos, you'll see this thing that I prepared earlier. Between x is -2 and x is 0, we do have a function. And to the right of x is +2, we also have a function. And boy, is it an interesting looking function. Happy Easter.